Confidently controversial. Confidently controversial. Confidently controversial.
Good morning.
Hello.
Welcome to
Confidently controversial.
That's Us. Here we are. We're doing an episode today.
Yay, whether we want to or not.
Oh, but we want to.
No, we do want to. I'm just feeling a little under the weather, as they say.
I know you are, and I appreciate you still getting up out of bed and deciding to do this episode with me.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I just feel like I hope you picked a good movie, because otherwise I could be very, very mean to you about this.
I know that that's a risk that I'm taking today. We're going to get into that in a minute, but let's just chat. How have you been? We just were on vacation, which is great.
Yeah, we just came back from California,
where we had a wonderful time. In California, we drove all around. We saw Jackson Brown's house.
We did.
We definitely saw his house. We definitely saw the home of... there's a couple other people's houses we saw in Malibu as well.
Yeah,
it was very
Paul Newman's
house.
Sure.
We saw two different Getty things.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was pretty great.
We drove up the Pacific Coast Highway.
Yeah.
And it was a lovely, lovely drive. We went to Santa Barbara.
I get it. I mean, I get why people spend the money that they do to live in those places.
Yeah, I was looking up to see what celebrities have homes in Santa Barbara. And there's a lot of high rollers there, like Oprah.
Oh, I know.
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, like I think right by where we were, like over on that little mountain, I think there's a lot of things happening there.
A lot of things.
A lot of things are happening there. It was really, really, really nice. And we went to the Santa Barbara Bowl and saw my favorite band in the whole world, Father John Misty.
Yes.
Which I loved so much.
And it was a really cool night. The Santa Barbara Bowl was spectacular.
Yes.
What a venue.
Although the best part was when to get up there, it's like carved into the hills, into the mountains, and you really have to like climb up the side of a mountain to get into it. And at one point I didn't think Kim was going to make it.
I was winded, I'll tell you what.
I was like, I'm going to have to go on without her. And they had, let me tell you guys, because we're East Coast ladies, so, we know a thing or two about a soft pretzel. Like, we know our way around a soft pretzel. We love a soft pretzel.
Sure.
It's a staple. Sometimes all you need is a Coke and a soft pretzel, and you're good.
Right. Revive your life with a Coke and a soft pretzel.
Absolutely. But the soft pretzels on the West Coast...
Ugh, disgusting.
Yeah. I don't know what they were trying to be. Like, they were trying to be like some kind of Bavarian dark...
Bavarian?
Yes, exactly that.
I think what you're doing is mixing barbarian and Bavarian, and that's exactly what it was.
That's exactly what it was.
Barbarian, Bavarian... Stupid, disgusting pretzel.
It was bad news, but it was great. Although
it was not great.
The pretzel was not great, but the trip was really great.
Yeah.
Although I was hurting with poison ivy.
Oh yes.
Oh my gosh, you guys! It was so bad. It was like when you get like that one little dot, and you're like, all right, like it's poison ivy and it sucks, but I'm gonna deal with it. And then it's like, okay, well now it's on my face, but like, all right, I can still pull through. It's not that bad. And then it's like, oh no, I have some over here. By the time we got by day 3 of our trip, I was like, I have to go to urgent care. This is too much. So that was a pretty dark...
As my husband said when we came home, he's like, well, if it's not one of you, it's the other one of you. Fair, because I immediately got sick when we got home.
Yeah. So
we just can't have nice things.
We can't have nice things. You can't take us anywhere. But it was a really, really good time, and certainly enjoyed the entire trip. The funnest thing about it, though, was that we were in Disneyland, and I wasn't feeling good because of my poison ivy, and it got to a point where I was just like, all right, I can't walk around anymore. Like, I have to just lay down and let my body heal a little bit before taking on another day of walking around.
Yes.
So we fully lay down. We're in Disneyland. What do we watch?
Dahmer.
Yes, we watched
We brought the Dahmer to Disney.
We brought the Dahmer to Disney, and we both speculated that no one has done this before. No one is in Disneyland watching Dahmer.
No, I don't think that vibe, that combination has ever happened before.
No. I gotta say it was great, though. I'm almost done with it.
Yeah, well, I knew that my husband would be really into it, so when we came home, I made him start over again. So I've been rewatching the beginning, and that guy does a very good job. What's his name?
Evan Peters?
Yeah.
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 Well, you know what's also really good is the dad in it, who's been in a lot of things as well. Like that guy.
He was in, what's the Catalina wine mixer?
I know, he's the dad from that Stepdads,
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like, he's a dad. He's definitely like a dad.
Yeah, but he does a really good job in that.
God.
Even watching it again last night when he first finds out that his son's a serial killer, it's like traumatic.
Oh my God, the whole thing is traumatic. Now, my husband, on the other hand, I know would be very against the whole thing.
Sure.
So I have been watching it. I've not brought him into it because I just feel like, first of all, I'm too far in. I'd have to explain a lot to him, although he knows, but it's like, it's just too much. I also feel like, I think I was a little bit worried going into that it was going to be, you know, you always worry with the serial killer things that it's going to be
What?
that there's just going to like be too aggrandizing of them.
Right.
But this definitely isn't. Like, I don't feel that way. I definitely feel like it shows him as someone who is mentally unwell and that society around him really just like turned the other, really enabled him as like a white man.
It does point out a lot of issues, you know, in the mental health space, in the way that, you know, some people are treated versus other people are treated. It's
amazing, like how he capitalized on homophobia to get away with things. It's crazy to me. But
in case you guys didn't know, Jeffrey Dahmer, ick.
yeah, he's pretty bad.
I know it's controversial for us to come down on that side of things, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it.
We take the hard positions on things sometimes, so it's pretty good. So now I think what we need to do now is start talking about the movie that we're going to talk about today for our show.
All right.
So this is an Emily pick.
Yeah.
And as we've come to find out over time, and as I hope some of our dedicated listeners have found out over time, is that I had a different childhood.
Yes. This has been commented on.
Yeah. By many people. We watched a lot of different movies, and whenever the subject of like weird movies from my youth comes up, the movie that we're going to watch today is high on this list.
Oh man.
And I know you're not going to be happy about this movie, but I feel like, but we have to watch it.
All
it's
right.
just one of these movies that like we have to watch. I am fairly certain you have never seen this movie.
Oh, good.
Because you never have.
Well, you know I love new things.
So this movie is like, it came out in 1985.
Okay.
We'll start there. We'll start with the year it came out. So 1985, 8 years old.
Sure.
Me and my brother talk about this movie a lot. My brother would have been around 6 years old when this came out. I don't feel like it was like, I was thinking about it a lot, you know, in the run up to this, you know, where did this movie come from? Like, did we love this movie? Like, why did we watch it so much? I don't think we liked this movie. Like, this wasn't a movie that we were like,
starting off really great.
I don't feel like we were like, oh my God, I want to watch this movie. It was more like, okay, it's on. It's a kid's movie. We'll watch it because it's on. And I feel like it was just on a lot. So just this is a Canadian movie.
Okay.
And I might as well just jump in and tell you what the movie is, because I don't feel like you're going to know it if I teased it with anything at all. Like, you're never going to guess it. There's nobody famous in this movie.
Oh, my God, Emily.
The only famous, like, thing that is even attached to this movie in any way, oh my gosh, she's, like, furrowing her brow. Kim is so mad right now.
I think I'm too sick to do the podcast today. I have to go.
Randy,
Help me.
where's Kim's husband? He's going to do the podcast with me. So this movie actually features the first songs in English that Celine Dion ever recorded.
Oh, God. This keeps getting better.
It was released in both French and English when it came out, and had a budget of $2.2 million. So not like a huge budget. Yeah, but it's pretty interesting. The goal of this film, according to the director and the producer, was to create a gentle, frightening film. Yeah. So I think, like, in retrospect, like, I think, okay, well, nowadays, or even in, like, the 90s, you had Goosebumps.
Right.
Which kind of filled that space. But this movie was not billed as a scary movie. In fact, the title of this movie does not make it seem like it's scary at all. It seems very intriguing and fun.
Okay.
The title of this movie is The Peanut Butter Solution.
Oh my God. I don't know where you get these movies from. I'm so mad.
This movie was on HBO. It had to be on HBO. In fact, I have like in my mind, I can see like, you know,
Right.
like I can see that happening and then being The Peanut Butter Solution. And it must have been on, you know, weekend afternoons. I just feel like we watched it a lot. But let me get it.
Hell, Emily.
Why are you so mad?
Because you just couldn't pick something regular for today.
But to like me, like this was regular. Okay. This was what we watched,
Well,
like a lot of.
Surprise, surprise.
And let me
not
tell
regular.
you, what I remember from this movie.
Okay.
Just what I remember is that there's ghosts in this movie.
Uh-huh.
There's hair falling out in this movie.
Good.
There is kidnapping
Excellent.
in this movie, and there's also child labor camps.
Okay.
This is just what I remember.
You do like a movie with a message.
I don't know that it had a message. And the funny thing about
Well, I would assume
this,
it's against child labor camps.
I mean, yeah, I guess it does come down against that. I found the thing that you'll be excited to hear is that my family was not the only family that watched this movie.
Okay.
So that was good. And I found a lot of recent articles and things by people who similarly were like, I remember this from my youth. I had to go rewatch it. What the fuck was this thing that I watched? Like that is the general feeling that people have about this movie. So it actually was produced by someone named Rock Demers, who's an acclaimed youth cinema producer from Quebec. He made this thing called Tales for All that was a series for children, and I thought it was funny. It had all these different films that were a part of it that were also became books, and one of them was called, and they were all in like French and English, and one of them was called Coco Ferme, which I found very funny.
Like I would like to watch that more than this, I think.
A writer named Mike Brooks reviewed this movie on Mana Pop, and he wrote that this film constantly has the viewer wondering what the hell is going on. And he ranked it above The Dark Crystal and Return to Oz, just in terms of weird kids films. Yes.
Weirder than Return to Oz?
Weirder than Return
Not
to
possible.
Oz. Kim, it's gonna be. It's funny because it's called The Peanut Butter Solution, and apparently Skippy shucked out like big money
To
for
be the
product,
peanut butter of choice?
To be the peanut butter of choice in this movie. So I mean, it definitely was out there,
Something.
and people. I mean, like I said, a lot of people saw it, and in reading a lot, it seems like it was a thing that other people said. There's a great piece that I found from 2022 in the Montreal Gazette by a writer named Salim Nawaz. And they wrote it mainly about how weird it was. Like, and just like this person was like writing, like, you know, recently, I guess in 2022, you had a couple of different Canadian films that were up for Oscars. Like, I think someone Canadian made Dune, and there was like another big movie at that time. And they were like thinking of Canadian film, reflecting upon Canadian film. And this movie popped into their head like, what was this movie?
They make a lot of films in Canada, but not a lot of Canadian films.
I guess so. I don't know. Like, I don't know why this one rises
like
to the
Vancouver
top.
is like the hub for shooting movies.
Right. I mean, and it's, yeah, and like this movie was definitely filmed in, I think it was filmed in Montreal.
Okay, so is this a cartoon?
No.
It's live action.
It's live action with kid actors.
Okay, so it's do you know what it's rated?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to say G.
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 Okay.
I mean, if I'm rating it, I would rate it a G.
When was the last time you saw this movie?
Probably in 1980s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't the kind of movie where we were like, let's watch that again. Like, there were movies at that time that we just watched over and over.
Sure.
And now we'd certainly watch this one over and over again because I feel like it
not
was
by
on a
choice.
lot. Yeah, but not by choice.
You're like, I guess. Okay.
And, like, when my brother and I talk about it, like, my brother and I have had, like, big conversations about it where we're just like, oh, my God, like, what was that? And we'll, like, reflect on all these, like, little parts of it, just, like, what was happening that we were watching this? So when I think about this podcast and Confidently Controversial and this idea of, like, what were these things that we were watching when we were younger? This is certainly a movie that comes up big in in our minds, like when we think about it. There was also an episode of the podcast, How Did This Get Made? From 2020 that's dedicated to this movie.
Oh, okay.
So like I said, it's not like that obscure of a movie. It's just kind of a weird movie that was out there. So I talked about, Rock Demers, who is lauded as this, producer, but the person who directed it is someone named Michael Rubbo, maybe. I don't know. Rubbo? Rubbo?
Oh, Rubbo.
Okay.
So there's no EUX or anything.
No. So he was mostly a documentarian. He made like a ton of documentaries. And looking down his list of documentaries that he made, some of the titles are just amazing to me. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to read you some.
All right.
One, the classic, Where Have All the Maoists Gone?
Maoists? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Another one was Wet Earth, Warm People. And then the classic Sad Song of Yellow Skin.
Oh my God.
Yes.
You might think you're helping your case here, and you are not.
I don't think I am helping my case at all.
Okay.
I feel like we're going to watch this movie, which is available in several different places.
Okay. It better be free.
If it's not, I will eventually
No, I'm just kidding.
money.
It's fine.
But I feel like it's going to be a movie that we're going to have a lot to say about afterwards. So I think we're going to have a good conversation about it. And that's, I don't...
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much is peanut butter involved in the plot?
It's a part of it. I would say...
What's it called again? The peanut butter solution?
The peanut butter solution.
Okay. I would assume it comes in clutch at the end.
No.
It's not the solution.
It's a solution to one thing, but it leads to other things.
Okay.
Yeah, but like the peanut butter part of it, I don't feel like, I hope, I don't know this, but I really hope that at the end of it, they have like a peanut butter sandwich and they're like, oh, peanut butter. Like,
thanks, peanut butter.
But it's like when I tell you that this movie goes to so many places, I am so excited I'm excited to watch this.
Yeah, me too.
I'm also excited because I'm going to see my brother later on today.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm excited to watch it and then just to talk about it with him because I don't know that he has watched it since we were young either. But like I said, we've talked about it quite a bit. And I think it's going to end up being very like avant-garde. But a kids movie from the 80s. Kids movie, Canadian avant-garde. We're going to hear some young Celine Dion.
That's the most exciting part.
And I think that like it's funny because you know how like when you look things up it'll say like award nominations and it did win a couple of awards for the songs in this. So
Celine Dion is like real sick right now and she has like some illness that's called like stiff body.
What?
Or something like that. Yeah, did you hear about that?
No.
Like apparently she's not well and she has something that sounds horrible.
Like she can't sing? Stiff body.
Yeah, I don't think she can. I don't know. I'll try to look it up while we watch this.
Oh,
but
no.
I've heard that she's not doing well. I don't think she's performing anymore.
I've not heard of her performing in a very long time. I've not seen her. Like, I feel like she was always out there.
Yeah, I remember the last time she wore that suit backwards with like the hat.
Well, that was like Titanic times, wasn't it?
No.
Yes.
Was it?
Yeah, well, because she was always out and about with her husband, and then her husband, who was way older.
And he passed away.
And he passed away because he was way older.
Right.
And, yeah, which is also, like, something that's really weird. Because she ended up marrying, like, probably the guy who helped produce these songs.
Like Mariah Carey did.
Yeah. She married him, and she has some sons. She has a couple
like
boys.
Twins or something?
Yeah, she has a couple of boys, I think.
I don't know.
But she's, I hope she's okay. It makes me so sad. I was never like a huge Celine Dion fan.
Right. But respect.
Respect. Celine Dion's version of Oh Holy Night is one of my favorite Christmas songs ever.
Right.
I mean, that woman nails it.
She can sing.
She's
a very good singer.
Very excited to hear these songs.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
we'll learn more about what's going on with her, and
we'll talk more about it and more about this movie after the break.
After these messages,
We'll be right back.
Confidently controversial.
First of all, what a fucking ride.
I gotta say, I didn't hate it. Because it was so fucking weird. Like, I feel like it was like watching, like, something, I don't want to say an accident, but like watching something where you're just like, what? What's gonna happen? Oh, I didn't expect that to happen.
I know. It's like barely a movie.
It's loose.
I was just thinking, like, as we watched it, it's like, somebody was like, it's for kids. It doesn't have to be that good. Like, nobody has to act
There
good.
just have to be kids in it.
There has to be
it'll
kids
fine.
in it. Right. They don't have to be good actors.
No.
I mean, geez, these kids
Are bad actors.
are bad actors.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, like, I think we could assemble, like, my nieces and nephews and your children and put on a better show than that.
I think that we could, for sure. But, oh my gosh, did I not describe it correctly in that, like, it's weird. It's not a movie we liked watching when we were kids, but we watched it a lot. A lot.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say.
Well, let's just kind of give an overview. Can you give a synopsis
I'll try.
of the movie?
Okay, so basically there's this family, and it's a boy, Michael, and a girl, Susie, and the dad, Mr. Baskin.
Okay.
The Baskin family.
Sure.
And their mom is not dead.
But they make it seem like she might be at first, or that she, like, left the
No,
family.
but they very clearly say in the beginning, like, someone's like, I miss mom. And the other person's like, well, she's not dead. Like, just like they're looking at us to be like, listen, look, she's not dead, okay?
Yeah, but, like, I feel like they say something early on that makes it seem like, well, mom left.
Yeah.
Where you're like, well, okay.
Well,
like,
we later
why?
find out she's in Australia.
Yeah,
just
because-
living her best life.
No, it's because her dad, they say, because her dad died, so she has to sell the estate. She has to take care of the estate.
Oh, I didn't hear that part.
Oh, you
I
missed
just
it.
thought-
No, you could easily mess it.
I was real mad at the mom.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it's the three people. The dad is an artist, not a very good
A
artist.
terrible artist.
Bad artist.
Ugh.
And you've got the son and the daughter. And the daughter is fucked up in her own ways because she's like the woman of the house.
She's totally taken on the role as the mom, and like they make a big point of her always wearing the mom's robe. But she also acts like a mom, where she's like, "Here, Michael, here's your food," and she's like always with the dad, and it's like a little bit like it's not sexual or anything, but it's
but
definitely weird.
If you went deeper into that relationship, there's something going on.
Yeah, there's something. It's not good, and because the dad's fully just like, yeah, sure, take care of us. Like,
Yeah,
your mom.
yeah.
There's no woman here, so we need a woman at the house, so you go ahead and
she's
be the
fully
woman at the
had
house.
taken on that role.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then, and they have this friend named Connie, who is their next door neighbor child, who always comes over to hang out with Michael.
Sure.
And so Connie comes over for breakfast, and he's talking about how there was a fire in their neighborhood last night, and Connie got firsthand view of the fire really bad, and he talks about how maybe some winos were killed.
Yeah, some wine was up, but they talked about it was at midnight, and he's like, "Yeah, I was front row." It's like, what were you doing up at midnight,
Right.
Connie?
Well, it's very clear in all of this. Nobody's parents care about them.
Well, that was the 80s for you.
So, Michael wants to go see this burnout shell of a home.
Sure.
And
Which I feel like is a very 80s thing, like with kids,
Yeah,
where it was
yeah.
just like, oh, there's something crazy, let's go check
Let's
it
go.
out.
So they go, and it's like rubble, but at the same time, there's somehow like a slide
Right.
that leads right into the window of the house. They try to climb up it. Connie can't get in, but Michael, he makes it inside, and he gets a fright.
He gets a fright, and like all of a sudden, a second later, he's like, ah, and he like tumbles out of
And
the
you
house.
see like his hair like sticking straight up.
Yes.
And then
He wakes up.
wakes up the next day completely bald.
Yeah. But it's like really heart-wrenching. Like he's really sad.
Yeah, he's super sad about being super bald.
Which I
and-
feel like a kid would be.
Yeah, I
It's
think
upsetting.
So. It's upsetting, but at the same time, I mean, it is a little dramatic. It'd be like, okay, buddy, your hair's going to grow back. It's going to be okay.
But then it doesn't.
But it doesn't grow back. I understand. But
and he's like
you
real
know.
broken up about it.
Yeah, so he's real sad about it. His family tries to give him a wig, which is a god-awful wig.
Terrible. But he's like, I look great.
Right.
In my
and
wig.
they, like, super glue it to his skull. And then he
As
goes,
one does. Is that how wigs work?
I don't know. But then he goes and he's like playing soccer, and all of a sudden this wig is making him an awesome soccer player. He's
No.
like, right?
Well, they say earlier that he's a really good soccer player.
I think it was the wig. and And then there's like this mean kid who looks like he's like 10 years older than the rest of them on the other soccer team.
I said it was Will Arnett.
He looked like Will Arnett as a kid. And so the other kid, like, is mad because Michael's such a good soccer player. And he rips the wig off of his head and, like, it, like
you see the glue,
like,
right?
stretches out.
Oh, God.
And then all of the children start chasing him and have a song prepared
About being a balding.
about a bald person. It's just like, when has this ever come up in your life that you have a 4-verse song about being a bald person?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they mock other bald people in their neighborhood. Poor people.
Run
like,
away, baldy, run away quick.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, something like that. I tried to look up the rest of the words, but I couldn't find it. But I just, like, they just had it in their pocket just in case.
Yeah.
And then, so the wig didn't work, and he has to find another way.
But okay, go ahead. I was going to talk about the senor.
Well, wait.
Okay. I know there's too much that happens in this movie.
There's a lot of characters. They're all related. So then in his sleep, I guess, he sees some ghosts.
Yeah, or
some ghosts visit him.
The ghost visits him. The wino ghosts.
The wino ghosts visit him in his sleep and give him a recipe for a hair salve to make his hair grow back. But you got to be cautious about how much peanut butter you put in there. Because peanut butter is the solution, but it's also the problem, you find out. Because the peanut butter, if you put too much peanut butter in, it'll make your hair grow like crazy.
Yes.
So, he wakes up the next morning.
But he doesn't know that that's going to be the problem. He just knows that the woman's, the wino lady, we shouldn't call them winos, but that's what they call them. I don't know. I feel bad about the whole thing. But anyway.
You should.
She kind of says, like, as like a, just at the end, and she's really weird too. She's like, sometimes I can be nice, but sometimes I can be mean. It's real weird.
You know,
and then
the alcohol.
It's the alcohol. It's the wine. Because I know I'm like that when I drink wine. Sometimes I can be nice. Sometimes I can be mean. But she kind of just is like, be careful with the peanut butter. You definitely don't want to have too much of that. But she doesn't say why.
She doesn't say why. But she just says it's a bad idea. So he puts the salve on his head. Well,
first he tries to do it, and then like the sister and the dad catch him and are like, take it away. And like they flush it down the drain.
Right, and they don't want him to drink it because it has like flies in it.
And earth.
And earth. Yeah. So
then he makes it again.
Makes it again, successfully puts it on his head, wakes up, and starts growing his hair back.
But you had to add that he starts putting it on his head, but it's too drippy.
Why don't you just tell the people then about the movie?
We're just missing all the part.
I can't tell the whole thing. We don't have an hour and a half to recount every part of the movie.
But you have to say that he puts too much peanut butter in it. It's important to note that he puts too much peanut butter in it. Oh, man. Did you have too much wine? Are you being mean?
Anyway.
Didn't you?
He puts the peanut butter solution on his head. Oh, maybe it's solution, not like solving the problem. Like solution, like a concoction of...
I don't know, maybe.
Like a solve made of
maybe it works in two different ways, on two different levels.
It's deep. Okay. So anyway...
So
he grows some hair back, and then it just won't stop growing.
No.
It's growing. His dad calls it a little frisky.
Yeah, he's like it's new. Like the dad is not alarmed at all by the fact that the hair. Like you can literally like every time they're cutting back to this kid, his hair is longer.
Right, and then he goes to school, and the teachers all have a problem with it because his hair won't stop growing. They're not concerned. They just think he's causing like a scene.
Yeah, they're just fucking mean.
Send him to the principal's office. Meanwhile, Connie, the friend, sees this luxurious hair that Michael is growing, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to grow me some pubes.
I forgot completely about that
I think this would be something that, as a child, you would not realize what was happening. But it is unbelievably, amazingly funny that he is. So, clearly, he goes into the bathroom, he puts it on his genitalia. And then
you don't see
that part, but later it's
implied.
But later, the teacher's like, Connie, I think you have a problem too. And you look at the bottom of his pant legs, and his pubes are growing out of the bottom of his pant legs. And then he's walking across the street, and he's like tripping on his own pubes as he crosses the street. And this is just like a little brief spot in the movie that is just like, what?
Yeah, but then it's weird with him because it's like he wakes up in the middle of the night and he's just like, because he can't stop itching his pubes. His itchy pubes are. And then he gets up and you see, like, he just looks down at his feet and you see, like, the long pubes are just, like, all around. And he's just like, stop. And then they stop growing.
Yeah, you just
and then
tell
that's
them
it.
to
And you
stop.
don't hear about it
No.
again.
No, I would assume for the I don't know. But
Yeah, I know.
unbelievable plot point that, I don't know, kind of made the movie better for me.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Okay.
So anyway, then all of a sudden, so you have the Signor. Do you want to tell people about the Signor since you're so amped about him?
The Signor. So, well, because, okay, first of all, it's spelled Signor, but they say Signor.
Yeah.
But he's French, maybe?
He reminds me of, was it Baron Munchausen?
Yes, he's very Baron von Munchausen.
Yeah.
And he is like the art teacher at the school, but he's really mean, and he's got this dog, Jim.
Right.
That he's really into his dog Jim. He makes the kids draw pictures of Jim, like Jim's like a model, and everybody's painting pictures. Really bad.
Yeah, but they're
pictures of
kids,
Jim.
they're children, and then also this guy is just like, this fucking sucks. You suck.
Yeah, but he also is anti-imagination.
Right.
And he's very clear that he's just like, no.
You draw the dog as you see him.
Don't add it. Like, he doesn't like Michael, the main kid, adds like flames behind him because he's obsessed with the fact that there was a fire at a house last night.
Which is probably the most normal part of the movie.
Probably. And he's like rips up his painting, and it's just like, this is terrible. Don't use your imagination ever
Yeah.
again. And then he's about to rip up Connie's, and Connie's like, if you do that, I will never come to your class again.
Yeah.
Like, that's even an option. Was it an
Right.
option in Canada? Could you
I
just
guess
not
so.
come to class? I don't know.
I feel like, Connie was a badass. He did what he wanted.
He did what he wanted.
He had those massive pubes, and he was like, I'm doing what I want.
I'm doing what I want. I got pubes now. I'm a man. But yeah, the adults were really mean in this movie. But the Signor, it's like then he gets fired because he's giving kids nightmares, apparently, because he's so fucking mean. And so the teacher is like, the principal of the school is like, well, you gotta go.
Right, but then
Signor.
also in his exit interview, she's basically like, yeah, and we also found out that, like, you've been fired from all these other schools and stuff. We decided to check now, not before we put you with the kids.
When we heard that you were giving kids nightmares, we were like, maybe we should look into this guy.
What's up with this fella?
And then they were like, yeah, and we know that you fake paintings and that you pretend to be Rembrandt's great-great-great-grandson.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really weird.
Optional.
I know. All of this is very optional. So cut back to Michael's hair is growing out of control.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So Michael's hair's growing out of control. Signor's fired, down on his luck. Decides, I guess, that he's going to seek an opportunity with Michael's hair to make paintbrushes.
But why does he jump to conclusions? Because it ends up that the paintbrushes he makes with the hair are magical.
Of course.
But it's like, does he know that it's going to be that way?
I don't know. I don't know.
He's just like, I know. I got this kid with this growing hair. I'm going to go make paintbrushes. And he also makes a coat out of hair that he wears for himself. And his dog, Jim, is wearing the thing. But then you also see, so then he steals Michael. And, like, his dad and the sister are, like, they still don't call the mom, I don't think.
No.
No, they don't tell the mom about any of this
None
that's going on.
And you don't see any, like, concerned parents. Like, at least in Goonies, the parents are real worried about where their kids are.
Well, they do show a scene of the dad, like, kind of like with his ugly ass paintings, just being like, "Oh no, Michael, where are you?"
Right.
So they do have that scene. That's really weird. But then they show this like, what do you call it? They show like a montage of newspaper articles in both English and French.
Yes.
That are talking about how like 20 kids have been kidnapped. Like there's this like just rash of kidnapping spree that's happening in this small town in Canada. And so then what you find out is that the Signor has kidnapped these kids
to make paintbrushes. In this sweatshop.
Yes.
Well,
it's a sweatshop.
Yeah.
Like, well, they all wear like karate gis that have been dyed pink, which I feel like, is that a nod to that cult where they all had to wear red? Did you ever see that Wild Country? I think that documentary is called about that.
I don't think this movie's nodding to anything.
I don't think so. They were just like, get a bunch of geese, dye them pink.
Yeah, what makes them look like they're being held hostage?
Yeah, geese.
Or
But that whole part is really creepy because then it's like the sister and Connie like figure out a way to get there. So Connie gets there and he sees what's going on in this like sweatshop where Michael
is just laying in a bed.
is laying in a bed where his hair's coming out of this like trumpet thing, and the senor is like spoon feeding him yogurt, and he's all like a little bit drugged out.
Yeah.
He's just like he's all weird, and the kids are all working there, and it's like they sleep in these like net hammocks, and it's really strange. And then they find out that when they figure out that these paintings that he makes with these brushes, they're so realistic that you can actually go into them.
And that's, I guess, the demand. Like, I can't imagine why if I was going to decide today, go into the paintbrush business, like that I would need 20 kids to manufacture paintbrushes made of hair right away. Because, like, what's the demand? Like, there's a really high demand for this.
Well, I also just feel like, couldn't he just, like, with the amount of brushes he's making, couldn't he have just done it? Like, it could have just been the senor and Michael. And that's all you needed. Like, maybe don't drug the kid out and just be like, hey, why don't you sit up instead of just laying in bed?
Why do you have something other than yogurt? Get your bowels in order.
Just sit up and help me
salad.
Help me make these brushes, and it's all good.
Right.
But no, he needs 20 kids doing this thing. But then it's like a really weird part at the end. Like, the way that they escape is that Connie first gets caught and he gets like spun around in this net, which I feel like is really creepy.
Yeah.
And then he's like, his way of getting out of it, he's all like dazed, and he's like, he starts calling the senor his dad. Like, I never had a father.
I want you to be my father. My father died in a plane crash.
Right. So please be my dad, which I feel like is some like weird like kid thinking, like, I know how I'll manipulate them. I have to, it's like that fight, flight, or fawning behavior. So he's like, I'm gonna like get in this guy's graces, and then the senor is immediately like, yes, you're my son, I always wanted a son. And then he paints a picture of the Fright building with the
burnt
thing
out house,
and then he gets the Fright, and that's it.
And then the kids escape, or the kids get out.
Yeah,
and then the mom comes home.
Yeah, it's like, where the hell have you been, bitch?
Right. She just rolls in at the end with her hat on.
All right. As you guys can see from our retelling of this story, it's weird.
Yeah, I really wanted to hate it, but I'm like amped after watching it. Like, I feel like I'm a little less sick.
It healed you.
I think the magic paintbrushes soothed my soul.
Oh my God. Well, with such great lines such as, I want to be educated, not just hairy.
I know.
It's so bad.
It was so weird. They acted you got to see this kid's hair too. Like, the wigs that they put on this kid when he was growing the hair. It's like 80s rock band, like feathered, flowing, luxurious locks. I can only imagine what Connie's pubes look like.
Well, I hope that they didn't actually put a pube wig on him. They just like stuck some hair out of his pants. But like, yeah, like that whole thing. Although it just makes me feel like maybe they're just a little bit more, open about that kind of stuff in Canada. Like, we're Americans who are just pretty, like, we don't talk about pubes.
Right.
Maybe we should talk about pubes. we should integrate them.
We have quite a bit in this episode.
Maybe we should integrate them more into our children's TV programming.
We also have to talk about, there are 2 Celine Dion songs in this movie.
They're bangers.
Yeah, Listen to the Magic Man.
And it was like Michael's theme, I think, is the other one.
Yeah. And they were nice.
They were good. I mean, it was... how she must have been... So Celine Dion is probably
she's 55.
So she's like... Okay, so we'll say she's about 10 years older than us. So if we were like 8 then, she was like an 18-year-old.
Yeah, she was really young.
Singing those songs, but her voice is full Celine Dion. Like, it's
it's very good. It's very good.
The songs were good. I mean, that was like some of the best highlights of the movie. I actually looked on my phone to see if I could download those songs and listen to them.
I'm going to have to listen to this song on the way to work now.
Yeah, you are. It's good.
And I just wanted to go back to, remember at the beginning I talked a little bit about Celine Dion's illness.
Oh, yeah.
And she does have what is called stiff person syndrome, which is a neurological condition. and she's had to cancel like a bunch of tours and things like that before.
Ugh.
It's very rare, and it makes it difficult to walk and causes painful spasms. So she is not doing that well.
Oh, poor Celine. And she's only 55?
Yes,
Oh.
I know.
That's so
I
sad.
know. Very sad. Very
She should
sad.
be out there singing her songs.
I know.
Ugh. All right. Well, that's sad. Well, Celine Dion, two great, probably forgotten Celine Dion songs
Sure.
in this movie. So
Well,
definitely,
yeah.
definitely
I mean-
check them out. I do have to say, I wrote down in my notes that this movie was way more Canadian than I thought it was going to be.
There's a lot of stories.
There's a lot of stories and like about a boots, and it was very it was definitely very, very Canadian, which was interesting to see. I do think a big part of this is the way the adults act in this movie. Is like, to me, watching it, like, that's a very weird part of it. It's like the son, when Michael first has his fright, it's not that he just gets scared and falls out of the building. He's fully unconscious.
Oh yeah. They put him in, and Connie puts him in a shopping cart and wheels him home.
Right, and the dad sees him and he's just like, you'll be fine. Like,
Yeah.
you just had a scare and you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And doesn't even think to, then they do take him to the doctor after his hair falls out. They think it's the cat.
Sitting on his head.
Yeah, they're like, that's why they think he loses his hair at first.
Well, the sister does. The sister's real pushy about the cat.
sister's
Clearly, the sister does not like the cat.
The sister's the literal worst.
But then you've come to find out, too, that the doctor is related to the
The
rabbit, who is the guy that owns the art gallery. And they're related to the Signor.
It's Senior.
The Signor. The Signor.
Okay.
And also related to the Wino Man.
I don't know where the Wino Man came into it. I don't know that they because there's like one scene where the doctor who just comes to their house for dinner one night is talking about the fact that he has these brothers. And I know he says the rabbit, who is, it's weird that the rabbit has this name, the rabbit.
Yeah, there's no explanation.
There's no explanation. You got the
Right.
rabbit, you got the Signor, and then he's just
the
doctor.
doctor.
Yeah. So the rabbit you see in an earlier scene when he comes over to the dad's to the house to look at the dad's art, which is not good.
Oh, it's so bad. And then like he's doing all these paintings of birds wearing like outfits. And he was like, fancy bird. This one's called like Fancy Bird or something like that. But then there's this like curtain that's over this picture, and the rabbit tries to lift up the curtain, and the dad's like, nobody touches the curtain except for me, and like goes over and like rolls up the curtain all dramatically, and you're like expecting it to be this fantastic work of fantastic this like amazing work of art, and he lifts up the thing, and it's like a picture of their family playing tennis, and it's all out of like, it's not well done at all.
I mean, I get that sometimes art does not look like real.
Yeah, but this is really
but
bad.
it's also not good. Like,
Yeah.
I like things don't have to look real.
No,
I
no,
get
no,
art.
I
I
understand.
get art. We both get art.
Okay.
But this is not good art.
No, this is his family playing tennis, and then there's a point where the little girl's looking at it, and she's like, "Hey, that's me," and it's like, "No fucking duh." Like, hey, I think that's Mom, and that's Michael, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah. That's exactly what
right.
it is,
And we're
you
playing
dummy.
tennis, and that's all.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very weird. Like the whole thing. They also make a point to say like, well, let's not tell your mom. Like they do go out of their way to be like, don't, because someone's like, shouldn't we call Mom? And like the
When his
little
hair
boy,
falls out,
yeah, and he keeps wanting to call his mom because he's upset, and they're like, don't bother your mom.
Right. But then when his hair grows back, the dad's like, "Yeah, call your mom." Like all of a sudden, she's gonna be like, "What?
Your hair grew back. What
What are you
why
talking
did you
about?"
have hair?
Yeah. And then at the end, when she gets out of the car, like she's just been on like a luxury vacation, she's just like, "Oh, well, look at your hair."
She's got a hat on. She looks great.
No, she does. She's well rested.
She's well rested. She's great. She hasn't been through all this like trauma of
Did she even
kidnapped
know
kids.
her child was missing?
Probably not.
No.
Okay. What do you feel was the point of this movie? Like, what was it teaching children? Like, I know when I talked about before, was saying that they really wanted to make a gentle, scary movie, which I get it. Like, it's definitely it falls in that, like,
But what were we scared of?
the Signor?
No, but like
Signor?
Signor. But like he goes in and gets a fright. But what do we? It's just that rhino lady is the fright.
Yeah, it turns out that just, like, the ghost of the people who died
In the fire. That's the fright.
That's the fright.
And that's what scares him so bad his hair falls out. And then those sane people give him the recipe to grow his hair back.
And they kind of say that. They're like, oh, we feel bad. So, like, because the thing we also didn't say was that they also say how Michael was really, I think the reason why the fire kind of hit him hard was because he had a recent interaction with these homeless people where he saw them on the street and he walked up to the man and he gave him money.
And he bragged about it.
He did a humble brag. He did a bit of a humble brag. He was like, it was all the money I had.
Right.
I gave him all of my money.
Because I'm a good person.
And you're not, Connie.
Right.
You're just more concerned about your pubes
Right.
than anything. So I think that's why he's so, like, moved by it. So then when they appear to him in the night to give him the recipe for the peanut butter solution, it's the homeless man who's just like, well, you did the last nice thing to me, so we felt bad that we scared you so bad, so we wanted to do a nice thing for you.
Yeah, the ghosts are in his home now.
They came to visit him and they gave him the recipe. But, like, the first time the lady makes him repeat it.
Right. And he makes it and then the parents or the dad throws
What
it
does
away.
he call the mouthwash? It was like a really weird, it was like peppermint mouthwater or something.
No, he called it mouthwater. Yeah, mouthwater.
Yeah, but I feel like I feel like it's probably mouthwash.
Yeah, I mean, it was all stuff that was very, very, like, readily available.
in Canada.
Five Flies.
Five Flies, Earth, but then it was like it had like a brand of crackers.
Yeah.
like it was like Corey's crispy crackers or something.
Corey.
I feel like it was something like that. But he had all the stuff to not only make it once but make it twice,
Right.
And to have this, like, peanut butter solution.
And you did
around.
have the very conspicuous placement of the Skippy logo
Sure.
on the peanut butter used.
Here's a question.
Okay.
Do you think that the homeless people had that recipe because she was like, this is just a very important recipe that I've had forever? Do you think they had it before they died, or they got it when they died? Then they have secrets to know how to grow hair.
I don't know. I can't answer that question. Like, what, like, weren't they, I don't know. Aren't they regular people? We assume that they're just regular people.
And they died in the fire, and then they're ghost people.
Right. I guess they're not. I don't know.
So then they're, as ghosts, they scare people,
Right.
and they
So
make all their
died.
hair fall out.
So they died, and someone was like, okay, now that you're dead, here's this recipe.
Because you're going to scare people and they're going to lose their hair.
Right.
So, if you want to give them this recipe, you can. But then when they come back, because Michael's forgotten it after he made it the first time and the dad and the sister threw it away, he couldn't remember it again.
Right. And that's when she's like, sometimes I'm nice, sometimes I'm mean. Today I'm going to be mean.
And I'm not giving it back to you.
Right. And the man is like, oh, I'm going to give it to you. They're
Yeah.
like anticlimactic.
Yeah, the man's a nice homeless person. And it seems like the woman's doing most of the scaring in this.
Suppose.
Yeah, it's something, I don't know. But it's a bizarre movie. I think people should check this one out.
I do too. Like, honestly, I really do. Because I think it's just so nuts.
It's nuts that it's a movie.
Yeah.
That's so available.
Right. Yeah. That's what I said at the beginning. I was like, I had to pay $14.99 to watch Weekend at Bernie's, and this bitch is free.
But it's on multiple platforms.
Yeah. There are options.
Yeah, like, people are watching this movie. That's why it's absolutely crazy.
So you were asking about, like, they said at the end, remember, like, it just turns out that the fright is in your imagination.
Yeah. I think the movie's anti-imagination.
Yeah.
It's like, because it's all in your head, don't worry about what's in your imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And even, like, the dad's paintings, the ones that are fanciful, the birds in outfits, we don't want those. We want the realistic, well, badly painted realistic one of your family is the better one, because it's and then the magical paintings, it's like the ones that are better are the ones that are, he needed
Sparkly.
to, in order to like actually escape, they needed to paint something that was real, not something that was
Imaginary.
imaginary. This movie is anti-imagination. What is happening in Canada?
Figment would be so pissed.
Figment would be really pissed at this movie. Yeah. Oh, and also we figured out that it's rated PG. It's not a G-rated
PG.
movie, which I guess makes sense.
I don't know. Nothing makes sense about this movie. I feel like we've just spit gibberish for the past half hour. People are like, what are you talking about? But it's real. It's a real movie. Look
It's a
it up.
movie. It's 90 minutes long. Go watch it. Just because
It's
you
free.
need. It's free. Just like go watch it just because you can. And it really, I think, does a good job of being like, this was the 80s.
Yeah, like this is the true crux of it's the crux.
It's the crux.
Of what we're doing here on this podcast to show you the crazy stuff that we were given to watch as children. And this is like the prime example. I'm never going to forget it.
I'm telling you, this is why from the beginning of this podcast, like this movie has been high on my list because I'm like, and I feel like my brother and I talk about it all the time because it's just like, what was that movie? Like, what was that? Because now you see it and you're just like, and even watching it, I mean, I remembered it, fully watching it. I didn't remember how bad it was, like in terms of the bad acting.
The
but
things that they consider like high importance versus low importance is just crazy. Like when his hair's growing all long. Like, it's, like, the biggest fucking deal.
And everybody's so, and like, I feel like you said it when we were watching, you're like, well, why is it the biggest deal? Like, why wouldn't they just, like, buzz it off in the morning?
Yeah.
And then by the end of the day, you just got to buzz it again before you go to bed.
It would take, I mean, it would be, obviously, it would add some time to your day that you hadn't expected. However.
Right. It's just like,
it would have just been like, okay, well, we have to deal with this somehow. This is how we're going to do it.
yeah, like, instead of, like, brushing your hair,
And let that-
we're going to buzz your hair.
Let Susie, you know, who likes to be in charge of everything, take care of it.
What about that scene where she's like playing piano really well? I feel like that's a humble brag point too, where she's playing like this awesome piano thing, and Michael's really upset because he's lost all of his hair, and he's in the basement like playing the drums, and she's like all frustrated playing piano.
Yeah.
Like, why was that?
know.
Yeah, there's so much of this movie just made no sense, but you should totally watch it.
I mean, I gotta agree. You gotta watch it.
You got to see it to believe it. Well, I'm so glad that you enjoyed it.
I am, but I'm either really sick or delirious.
I feel like you're going to go out and talk to your husband and be like, wait.
You just need to watch
You
it.
just watch this movie.
Yeah.
I want to watch it with my kids because I'm curious to see like what my kids think about the whole thing.
Yeah.
It would be funny to watch it with them, I think.
Yeah, I
like,
think so too.
Yeah,
I think
for
it would be
sure.
funny to make other people watch it. Be like, oh, look at this.
when you see his pubes.
Right.
Yeah, it's
That
really
was the
funny.
most fun. That was the
Well,
funniest
let
part.
me. Okay. Well, now we are at this part of the show where we talk about Spader, and I got to say this was a difficult one.
I don't know how you're gonna do this
Well-
because it is there's nobody in it that has done anything.
Well, actually, the dad has been in a lot.
Okay.
So he's had a career. Like, he's been in a lot of things. And the dad's name is Michael Hogan.
Okay.
And he was in, recently, he was in Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
Which I feel like, if you've never seen that movie, that's definitely going to be a movie that when my kids have a podcast, they're going to be like, what was this movie that they made? Because that movie is really, really weird. But anyway, so he is in Sonic the Hedgehog, which stars James Marsden,
Yes,
who I love.
you do.
And once I saw that he was in Sonic the Hedgehog, I was like, ooh,
there we
I
go.
need to get James Marsden because you always do those posts on Instagram, and I'm like, I really want to have a picture of James Marsden in there because I love him.
Sure.
So James Marsden was in an episode of Touched by an Angel.
Oh.
Yes. Also in an episode of Touched by an Angel was Leslie Ann Warren. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
She was in Clue.
Yeah.
She kind of looked.
yeah.
I always confuse her with what's her name? Oh God, she's in Enchanted. She's oh gosh, we'll forget it. This is bad podcasting now at this point. But anyway, Leslie Ann Warren. She is an actress. She was in Touched by an Angel, and she was also in a movie called The Secretary,
Oh.
starring the one and only Mr. James Spader.
Nice.
So we did it.
job. Good
That
job.
was a tough one.
Yeah,
That
it was.
I
Yeah.
had to do like some really crack research for that one.
Well, good job.
Thank you. I'm really
Talk
proud
about a
of it.
humble brag.
That's a not so humble brag. But thank you guys again for listening to the podcast and for, just following us and sending us your comments and all your likes and everything else. We certainly appreciate it. And we love hearing from you guys. So definitely check us out on Instagram at Confidently Controversial.
Yes.
And then you could also follow us on TikTok at Confidently Contro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, sorry.
Too much Canada this morning. And then you can also send us an email at confidentlycontroversial@gmail.com. We're on YouTube. We're on all the different podcasting
Everywhere.
platforms. Everywhere you look, it's confidently controversial. I'm sorry, I did it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. And remember, Kim,
Oh, yeah.
this is the part that you haven't taken to this ending.
I'm going to
yet.
say it. I'm going to say this part. So you have to answer the other part.
Okay.
So remember to be confident and
And to
See?
be
It's not
controversial, be a little bit controversial because that makes you like interesting, but like not so much that you're being mean to other people. Okay, guys, we love you. Bye.
Confidently controversial.